Hey, everybody. What a time it is in our country, huh? Lots and lots of distractions. This is a free webinar. This is for professional, busy women and others who are smart enough to listen, as Susie Orman says. So I'm just checking in. How are you? Go ahead. You can put it in the comments where you're seeing this, if it's on YouTube or wherever you're seeing this video. Go ahead and put it in the comments. How are you doing? How are you navigating this? So there are so many changes coming at us at such a speed that the news can't even keep up. 300 new things in 2 days, um, dictives, coming down from the new administration that affect our health, our education, our children's health, our children's education, our safety in our community. So really important things that generally help us find our footing, that give us our balance, right? And so that is why a lot of times people in this situation feel stressed. Stress is that when we feel like we can't control something. So the important thing in order to turn on our focus and figure out how we can find our footing, how we can feel balanced, how we can feel secure during a time when so many things are changing at such a fast pace, we have to put some tools into place and we have to know how the neuroscience works. How does our brain work? What does it need? Well, there's a doc that was, from decades and decades ago that said the brain has various levels of need. And one of the basic levels, this is Maslow's needs, is that we're safe, that we feel safe in our community, that we feel secure, that we have the basics like food and water and a safe environment. So that's always the first thing to address. Are we safe? Do you feel safe in the community? If you're not, that's the first thing. Because we can't get the brain to higher level thinking because the brain will always be looking for security. So the brain can't come up with good solutions unless we meet that need for security. The other thing we have to remember about the brain is it is like a garden. It needs support in order for it to come up with solutions. So we have lots of things again coming at us. So for me personally, it's like disturb my sleep, I feel stressed. I feel at a higher level of stress. Like I feel sympathetic, it's called. We have two kind of neurologic systems. Our parasympathetic is our rest and digest and relax system. So those are the kind of, we have this balance of our nervous system. We're either focused, task oriented, or maybe we're stressed in that we're trying to find a solution. The other side is rest, relax, digest. That's the more relaxed side of us. So we bounce between these two systems throughout our days. And we can intentionally put ourselves into the relaxation stage or state. And we can do that with deep breaths. There's other ways to do it. That's why some people see a psychologist. I highly recommend if you have any needs in that way, go find a professional to help you with that. It's super challenging these days. So, what can we do? Well, we have to find those points of control because that is in a neurophysiologic sense. So, in the way the organ of our brain, once we feel we have control, then it will be easier the next time we need to find control. So, that is the definition of resilience in a neurophysiologic sense, is that once we find something we have control, like for me, I had to find a good news source that packaged it in a way that was really helpful to me, that I could listen to in a way that worked for me and my schedule. For me, I like the New York Times for that because I can read their app, I can get their top news stories, or I can listen to their podcast, or when I have time, I could sit and read it in more detail. And then I got the Sunday New York Times in print because I want to sit down and just chill a little bit on the weekend or through the week. I can take the sections and look at that. So that helped me find that some resources. Now, we also know that there's bias in many things, right? So there's bias in the news business, there's bias in all businesses, really, meaning that people have a goal with their activities, right? And so we have to know our own biases because we all have them, and we have to know what the news media biases. So I'm also listening to independent news sources, which are podcasts. And so I'm glad to share those with you too. If you're interested, just put a message in the chat here. So that helped me feel control that I could control the amount of messaging coming in. Sometimes I'll watch news on YouTube, but that can get really just overwhelming. I like John Oliver just because he's funny and poignant and on track. And so, I'll do a little bit of that, but I can't do too much of that because I also have to have time where I'm, finding balance and finding my footing, finding my base. Sometimes I like to call it like my Jenga moment. What about if I want to build Jenga? I'm playing the game. I want it to go high. I have to make sure my base is solid. So I have to do my well-being activities. For me, that's nutrition and movement and connecting with others and sleeping well. And so if those are not working, like I had to add extra yoga because I wasn't sleeping well with all of this change. And so I had to fortify my base. So you may find you have to do that too. Okay. So we have to find new resources. And once we feel that control, it helps us on the next challenge that we can even find more control. Okay, so that is the neurophysiologic need. We have to meet our basic needs of sleep and eating and safety. Then we can get to the higher level. So my goal, my hope is that we all can get to the higher level to find solutions in this challenging time. So how do we get to solution oriented? We have to meet that need first. So first address where you need to feel safe. What is missing? What do you need to fortify? Make sure your Jenga base is solid. All right. And just like this slide here says, is that distractions make us feel unhappy. We have to focus with this brain wonder. That's why I'm sharing some tools that work for me. So we know we have to fortify our base, just like Jenga. We have to fortify, make sure that we're addressing our needs for nutrition, movement, sleep. See your primary care doctor, see professionals if you need help with that safety issue, that base, that Jenga base, so that we can move on to higher levels of solution finding. And we have to get our brain in a creative state so we can help our communities with some solutions. All right. So first things, how are you? Put it in the chat. How are you feeling? How are you navigating this? We are a community. We go through this together. You might want to think it's us, them. It's really not true. Like all the divisions politically, et cetera, are not true. We're all in this together. We like to think hard, red, blue, what have you. They're not real divisions in our humanity sense. And so we are all humans going through this together. And so we're all on the same team, believe it or not. It's hard to say that because a lot of people are very divided, but it's the truth. We have fake divisions. We have fake divisions of states and countries. I mean, we have one world and we have, drawn those divisions. They're not real divisions as far as how the world started and how people started. But that's how we get our safety. That's how we find our safety, by dividing and finding a core group. So if you need to find a group that you feel safe with, that you find is growing and supportive, go ahead. But just know that all these divisions that we have in the long run really don't serve us. But it's something our brain looks for, and that's why they're there. We look for a safety of a smaller group to provide our security. We all need to feel secure. That's our basic need. That's our Jenga base. So if we don't meet that Jenga base, we can't get to the good solutions. So in my hope is that we all can meet our Jenga base of well-being, our need for security, so that we can come up with those really great ideas that our communities need. Our communities are suffering right now. So we do need to, find some new solutions. Okay. So everything's changing. We need to, kind of keep our sea legs and just keep those basic, our Jenga base in place. And that's different for everybody. What's important to you. We know through researchers in the past and current and present is that we do have this basic needs that we have to put into place. All right. So yeah, a lot of people are tired. We're looking for long-lasting solutions. You're doing amazing work, but you're tired. So what are some resources? Well, I shared some of mine that have really helped me. I like the New York Times app. There's a podcast on there that gives you, if you can listen to a little bit of it or all of it, it's very helpful. I like the app called the 5 Calls app. It's for progressive. So if that is your political background, it's generally has progressive issues on it. So if that's your leanings, I'm a physician, so I tend to think of socioeconomic issues and community issues. That's how I look at the world. I'm also a business owner, so I look at it from that angle as well as a mom and a wife and, a working neuroimmunologist. So those are my perspectives, how I see the world. Everybody has their own perspective on what the answer, quote unquote, would be. But again, we're all in the same soup, no matter how we want to divide and say, that it's a red or a blue or this or that. I mean, we are all one, even though we want to think that one person has the answer. Whatever the solution is, it has to work for everybody. Okay, so my resources I'd love to share with you, New York Times app I really enjoyed, and the 5 Calls app. It's free. I learned it's developed by a couple that worked on some campaigns in the past and found that the calling is, setting up calling systems was really cumbersome and expensive. So they made the app, and then, folks can use it, and it's free to use. You can give a donation if you want. I'm going to give a donation because I really like how it works. It makes my life better. So they solved the problem for me, so I'm glad to give them a donation. Okay, next thing is, again, think about how you're building that base, that security that you need, that we all need, that Maslow has described. He has described it as like a triangle, and we have to meet those basic needs of security. So we have to make sure that people around us are safe, that we're getting our basic needs before we can come up with solutions. So don't skip that step. If we don't meet those needs, we'll never get to the solution-oriented time with us. And in order to support our communities going through all these changes. So for me, I had to double my yoga, do a little extra yoga, especially before bed. That's been really helpful to meditate. I usually do that in the morning. And then a gratitude practice, like what is working? My arms and legs are working, my eyes are working, my body's working. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for a warm house. I'm grateful for a loving family. So just remind yourself, I'm grateful for, courageous people. Remind yourself of what you're grateful for, because that again pushes us into that parasympathetic mode. And if you're interested in meeting periodically and sharing resources, sharing some, latest political information, if you're a busy women leader and you want to, kind of join periodically and share resources, just reach out to me, just say yes, type yes on where you're seeing this video, and I'm glad to, set up a group. I find we're stronger together. Again, all of our lines where we say, it's this group or that group, a lot of that is false, but our brain likes that. Our brain likes to find security within a group. That's why we, have a bias towards these groups, but we just need to meet the needs of the brain and find secure group to hang out with. And so I would like to build one where we can share resources and take action. I'm not the kind that just wants to read the news and sit back and hope other people take action. I want to do what I can in this environment to support people in our communities. So if you're interested, just type yes here and just in the comments of this video, and then we'll share and we'll set up some time to do this. We can do it. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. We can do it locally, or we can do it on Zoom. We'll see how the group goes. Okay, all the best. And don't forget to meet your Jenga base, to take care of your basic needs of food and sleep and movement and connections with others, so that you feel safe, so that you can find those solutions in your own communities. Because we all need to be, building groups, building safe groups, to share solutions and support each other. You got this. Thanks everybody for coming.